With many years of experience of implementing security programs to meet the learning and communication needs throughout various organizations, our speaker today knows how to mitigate human risk and reduce cyber attacks. I need to learn something about this. Sharing her personal story and expertise, please welcome our speaker today, Denise Strickland.
Hi, everybody. Well, I am so excited to be here. I have a lot to say about this topic. I have a few slides to go through, but definitely really want to hear from all of you today. So please get ready for a lot of questions for me. I just left the Chat GPT or AI session, and I will look at that in a little bit of a different perspective when we're talking about cybersecurity and all that great information that you want to throw in a Chat GPT. I'm probably the one who's going to caution you a little bit on that. But so who am I? I will share with you all that I have probably over 20 years of experience in learning and development in HR areas and IT and organizational change management. That's really my strengths and area. And probably about 7 years ago, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, in the world of cybersecurity and different frameworks that we really have a need for somebody who understands the training aspects and needs, the awareness and communication efforts. And those things are in order to earn certain certifications and meet compliance requirements. So I found myself landing into cybersecurity for a large healthcare organization. Lots of you in the Florida area know Advent Health, and that really began my journey. If you talk to people in cybersecurity, they don't start out in cybersecurity usually. It's almost like they found their way there and continue to improve and grow their skill sets in the area. So human-centric cybersecurity. So we have a lot of incredible gifts and technical individuals who have to meet the needs of a cybersecurity program. But what we also need is the human element of it. We call it the human firewall. And those are the individuals who interact with our systems or our data, as well as what they need to do and learn to protect themselves. So that's really where I come in. So today I'll talk a little bit about what phishing is and phishing attacks are and kind of the different types to be aware of. And then in the event you've succumbed to a phishing attack, what do you do? What happens if someone in your family does? And I'll give you some tips, and I will drop a lot of links into the chat for you to have to utilize. And then caregivers. I could really have an entire presentation dedicated to caregivers, but I'll just dabble a little bit in that today. And I know it's important for us to talk about what we need to do to protect not only our children in the household, but perhaps seniors. And so I'll give you some tips there. And finally, what in the world is Cybersecurity Awareness Month? So hint, that's actually happening right now. So October is that month.
Denise, may I just advise you that you are on your preview slides. So if you'd like to go to your slideshow, we won't see your other slides.
I actually am going to keep it preview because I have some links I put in the slide notes that I want to be able to drop. But yeah, thanks, Vicki. I appreciate that. So the domain of security culture awareness and training is where I find myself. And again, we're talking about how we get these very important ideas, best practices, even required behavior out to the masses. So it becomes more of second nature. That's where I fall in. The first area, though, is what is a phishing attack? So let's talk about the very basic component of cybersecurity and what we're protecting. Phishing is the #1 attack on systems or people, and it is a malicious. It could be an email, and it could come in another way, but it's really intended to trick you into giving up some additional information that you may not have really wanted to. There are different types of phishing attacks. There is spear phishing, which is a very targeted way of trying to get a hold of data within an HRIS system or other systems within an organization, most likely posing as somebody that would be known to the organization too. So be on the lookout for those things. And then there's whaling, which would target the executive suite. Perhaps some of you have heard of different attacks when someone impersonated an executive at an organization and employees gave up certain information because they were duped. Smishing, if anyone here has ever received a text message from that notorious Amazon package that they're trying to get a hold of you and send that comes in a form of a text, and that's known to us as smishing. And there's vishing, which is the voicemail, and many others, but these are really some high profile ones I would definitely want to make sure I shared with all of you today. All right, so how to spot a phish. There are many ways. The spelling and grammar used to be a real tall tale sign of something that might be not authentic or have a malicious intent. But with ChatGPT and other things, those have gotten a little bit cleaner. It's not just the random mistakes of somebody perhaps looking like they're translating it into English to send you a message, but it is something to just be aware of when you're looking at an email you may receive. A sense of urgency is another really important factor that I wanted to talk about. There are things that people will say, like, you have X amount of time that you need to give much needed information. Like, we've been trying to get a hold of you, and they, kind of play on your anxiety a little bit in order to get information. So be wary of that, or leery of it, I should say, and understand that, taking a pause and thinking about what the person is really asking, and if it warrants such a rapid response would be important. And the request of PHI, PII, those very personal information, we wouldn't necessarily be asking for that via email too, so be concerned if you receive something. And the domain consistency. So when you look at someone's email address, like the Amazon, I've seen where there's misspellings of the word Amazon, that obviously tells me that's not a legitimate email. So there's a few pointers there that you can take a look at when you get an email. Verify, verify, verify. So earlier I was on with Joyce talking about the LinkedIn profile. And recently we've also seen an increase of malicious, yeah, Kara, definitely is. But malicious attacks on LinkedIn with people impersonating other people. So I'm always wanting people to just verify if that was the actual individual sending you a request to connect on LinkedIn. Any additional steps you can take is really key. All right, Pwned. I hope everyone here is familiar with it, but if not, it's a great resource. I'm just going to show you right here. If you go to this website, and one thing you can actually do today is actually understand if your personal email address has been involved in any malicious attacks on organizations. Submitting your address in there, and then it'll come up with a list of companies that might have been affected by a breach or a cyber attack. And it's really important to see that. One of mine is HelloFresh. Anyone familiar with the food organization? Sends a box of food to your house. You can make the meal. They don't make it for you though, so I ended up not doing it any longer. And but they did have a breach, and in an event like that, I would recommend people to go into their account, even if you're not using it anymore, and just make sure you change your password. Is a good thing to do when you've identified that an organization that you were a customer with or involved in has had a breach. They also post the most recent breaches on the main website too, which is good to know. And in the event that happens, there are other resources that you can utilize too. If you have any suspicion that your identity has been stolen, great government resources that are out there. And I recommend for all of you just to kind of maybe bookmark these so that you have them. And in the event that you feel like somebody has taken your identity, you've noticed that on your credit reports, or in the event that, you need to get a hold of somebody to help you in that scenario, this is a great resource. You go here and just start on the Get Started, and it'll walk you through, almost like if you were doing your taxes on your own, just walks you through each step of different questions that you need to answer and how they can help. All right. Next, caregivers. So we've a little bit about like what is a malicious attack, a phishing attack, the types, and then what you can do if you feel like you've been susceptible to one. Now we can talk about different things we can do to protect those around us. And really it's applicable for all ages, these types of things, but we're seeing more and more attacks targeting younger individuals, as well as seniors, because maybe they are not as vigilant as we might be to different things that are happening. So I have captured a couple of great resources I think are really notable here. Cyberbullying, it's unfortunate. It still happens quite frequently. I would recommend going to that resource and checking out some information, some best practices, some other agencies that might help out, but to also educate our children around what they can do to prevent, or more importantly, reach out for help in the event that they are being cyberbullied. The FBI Safe Online Surfing is a great, almost learning environment, a gamification for students of all different grades, ages, around what they can do to become more aware of best practices when we're looking at security within online. A parent tip sheet had to include that, and then cybersecurity and seniors. All of these are some great resources so that you have them to drop that. You have them there in the event you want to kind of peruse through what resources are available to us. A couple more slides, and then I really want to get into some dialogue here too. This one is just from a parent's perspective. You can set controls in place on all those wonderful screenagers, I like to call them, who have their different devices. Here's a great, step-by-step, whether it's iPhone or Android, into setting up those parent controls. And some of you may be familiar with the Chrome family grouping. So I just put that out there. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but you can actually create a family and then control different web searches that are allowed within the people who are listed in that community. All right, so a lot of great resources. I think we security professionals tend to get a little bit paranoid with things, but that's not what I want from all of you today. I really just want you to have more resources in the event, something is happening, or you're not clear about it, or you want to, put things in place to protect yourself and your family. And then I will say the last thing to kind of talk about is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So as I shared earlier, my background in being L&D and organizational change management, I really view Cybersecurity Awareness Month as my Super Bowl. This marks the 20th year for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. There's a lot of things that you can do, but my ultimate goal is just to bring cybersecurity best practices more relevant to the everyday users, and have a lot of fun with it too. I just finished the series Peaky Blinders, so I had to get out there and make some memes in order to drive some awareness of topics I wanted to cover out in the communities and different areas and work with people. And then I have an article of when I was at my previous organization with Zoom. So that was quite exciting to be a part of Zoom during the pandemic. And we had a Cybersecurity Awareness Month and what things we did in order to try to really bring awareness to our Zoomies and others, and things that I would say a win for me is if somebody learns something new, that's great. If they take it home and talk about it around the dinner table, that's even better. So that they're sharing that knowledge and getting those resources out there. So let me drop these in. All right. And that's it for, as far as my presentation. So I'm just going to stop sharing and would love to hear from all of you, because I think this is a very important topic. And but I'd rather really answer some questions that all of you might have when we come to cybersecurity. And Julie, I know you already told me you had them, so I'm going to start with you, and then would love to hear from other people.
Yes, I am just curious that since you know so much about cybersecurity, what kind of social media are you not afraid to join?
That's a great question. And let me also tell you, I may not know all there is about cybersecurity. I actually know I don't. This field changes daily, but I will tell you, I know who to reach out to. So make sure we all keep that in mind. We don't have to know everything about it. We just need to know who we need to get to. So social media, there are it's a great opportunity to connect with people. I'm a visual person, so of course I really love to engage on those platforms. And I really think you just have to do your research over your privacy settings for each and every one of them. So there are some that might be more secure than in others, but I could sit here and probably tell you about a breach or a cyber attack on each and every one of them. And people were affected or impacted. So yeah, thanks, Julie.
Hi, Kara Newcomb here, District 84 Finance Manager. I have a question. So I have been using LastPass for about a year and a half now, and I know LastPass had some hacks, like at least 2 hacks recently. And you'd like to think, and especially because I work from home, I have my own business, so I use a lot of my clients' stuff on, and I try to, I'm trying to discontinue using some of my clients' banking on LastPass. Well, my question is, how do we, I like the convenience of LastPass because I don't have to remember a gazillion passwords. What are your thoughts on websites like LastPass and how do we avoid being a victim of something?
Yeah, no, I think you're doing the right thing, Kara. If everyone's not familiar with LastPass, it's like a password generator. So you'd set it up and everything that you could possibly need a password for, Kara can go to LastPass and it will generate it instead of trying to remember it. Because what drives me bonkers is if I see people with sticky notes and their passwords over there and over here, and that's just not very safe. So great job, Kara, on using it. I think I think you're in the right direction. Unfortunately, it's not foolproof, but it's almost like if you left your front door wide open at night when you went to sleep versus locked and a Ring camera by the front door and maybe other security measures, you're just that much safer. And that's really what we're targeting. And Richard, I know you've dropped in the chat, as a private business owner, how safe is the cloud and is it breachable or hackable? Absolutely it is, especially since all companies are moving all their programs into the cloud. It is, unfortunately. There are things that we can put in place to try to lock it down more. But again, it's not foolproof. There is quite an advantage to housing things within the cloud. And I don't think that's ever going to go away, but we can have certain software systems in place and business resiliency efforts that we can do as organizations to try to keep things safer. I see another hand.
Yeah, I had a question just about the impact of
Sure.
ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
I've just been noticing just certain times where I've been getting calls and no one's on the other line. And it seems like someone's trying to basically record me, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is because it's kind of like the same number. It's like they're kind of trying to get me to say yes or something like that because that same day I had 2 loan two loan officers call me, like telling me that, I applied for loans and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And, that just very, scary because I've been toying with artificial intelligence for the past 3 weeks, and it's insane what you can do with it, and that, so I'm
Yeah,
just wondering.
I think, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what you think,
Yeah.
how we can best
Yeah, I think we continue to
safeguard
remain
against that.
vigilant. I think we utilize ChatGPT for my professional opinion is we're using it for
Mhm.
certain things. I wouldn't want to put my social security number out in a ChatGPT
Yeah.
and it's for like my medical records or how I would respond to a certain thing. I don't want anyone here to be paranoid, but I would always think about the information I'm putting in chat. Is it
Yeah.
going to get hacked? And yes, can hackers use AI to compromise security measures one may take? Yes, they could. And so, we're trying to make sure we put things in place to safeguard those, but it's just not foolproof. That doesn't mean we don't use the Chat GPT, but just be vigilant on what you're using it for, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
So Denise, it is the end of our session